Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. And whenever I need advice or information about shooting, particularly shooting rifles, particularly shooting long range, you got to go to people that actually know their stuff. People like, maybe military snipers, people who teach long range shooting, people who really know the stuff, people like Ryan Cleckner, who joins us right now. Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm good. Hey, pretty good news out of the Olympics, huh?
I know. Americans know how to shoot. I love it.
Yes, Americans know how to shoot. In fact, that would be how we got our country in the first place, isn't it?
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, just quickly for people who don't know you, give them a little bit of your background, please.
I was a sniper in 1st Ranger Battalion. Longer and longer ago, it seems. I'm getting old, Tom. Worked in the firearms industry after that. Worked for the NSSF and worked for Remington and was an attorney in government affairs, things like that. Mm-hmm. And I still am an attorney for some in the firearms industry, but I spend most of my time either writing books or running websites or online courses or occasionally teaching courses. And
you were just out, I just was looking at some of your Facebook posts. You were out or somewhere out west doing some kind of video project. What was that? I was.
Those pictures, even just simple snaps, they came out great. I was in Chama, New Mexico. That's at the Quinlan Ranch. It's a bit of a elk hunting mecca as far as I'm concerned. I've hunted elk there a few times. And it's beautiful, and the people there are amazing. And people that aren't from out west don't realize that some parts of the West can actually be that green. You know, we were at the base of where we were shooting. We're 8,300 feet.
Right.
We went up to about 9,500 feet in elevation. So it's thin air, cooler weather, and lots of green. It was gorgeous.
Fabulous. And shooting fun rifles, I'm sure.
We sure were. I ended up teaching a course out there. I taught about 4 days of a course for people that wanted to come out there for it, which was a really good time. I love teaching courses. Not as much anymore. I mean, it's hard to be on the range every day, obviously, but I still like doing it because it knocks the dust off for me. I learn something every single course, and it just reminds me how much I'm not practicing for certain things. How many skills are so perishable.
They are, aren't they?
I had a student outshot me. We did a shoot-off at the end of the course, and I, as an instructor, think that an instructor should be able to demonstrate everything they're asking a student to do. And the whole course, I was demonstrating things and showing them just fine, but we had a unsupported position shoot-off. We had to lean up against a pole and shoot from a knee with your elbow and things like that. And the top shooter beat me. And I stood up and said, "Congratulations. That's wonderful. What did I do wrong?" And we sat there and talked about what I did wrong. So that's even good for me to learn from too.
All right, so you're a hunter, you're a former sniper, you teach this long-range shooting, you really know guns. So let's talk about I know people are thinking it's July. Do I need to get ready for hunting season now? And of course, I'm thinking that's all I'm thinking about right now is I'm thinking about fall and hunting season and everything else. What is it? And one of the great frustrations, and you hear it all the time, is people who put their rifle away last season, now they're going to go take it out, and they pull it out. They might go sighted in, they might not go sighted in. Maybe everything works, maybe it doesn't, but they're not getting any trigger times. What should we be doing, or what are the pitfalls to watch out for in terms of getting ready for hunting season?
Great question. So right now, you should be starting getting your rifle and yourself ready. I say yourself because I see many, many hunters spend an extra $500 to save a half a pound, but they're not willing to maybe lose 5 pounds off their belly like I need to do. So one is before you start going for the newest, lightest weight gear and trying to buy equipment that's going to somehow make you better, you should start hiking and walking around now. Even just going for walks with the dog at night and increasing the distance a little bit each night is going to pay dividends by the time hunting season gets here. I'm not talking a big, heavy pack. I'm not talking extreme hiking. I'm talking about just getting your legs moving. Because I don't know about you, Tom, but I sit way too much during the day in front of a computer.
Kidding. Absolutely.
And getting that blood pumping and legs moving so that by the time I actually do find the animal, I'm not so fatigued that I can actually do my part. That's one thing, is get yourself ready. Stop focusing on the gear so much. Number two is make sure the rifle fits you. I have 90%, I might be overstating it, but I feel like 90% of the people that I teach do not have the rifle set up to fit them properly.
I don't know what that means.
Well, I like to use the analogy of getting the best race car driver in the world and putting them in a rental car where the seat, the steering wheel, and the mirrors aren't adjusted for the driver and expecting them to make that car perform.
Okay.
You need to have it set up to you. And on a rifle, what that means, the easiest way to describe it is actually to tell you how to check for it.
Okay.
Get on the rifle in whatever position you expect to be shooting hunting, whether that's from the knee or standing or prone, and close your eyes and mount the rifle with the weight of your head on the stock, with your head in the right position. Even think about it. Does your neck need to be extended more to be comfortable or back? Get everything set up with your eyes closed to where you're as comfortable as you could possibly be, and then open your eyes. And chances are, if you're like most shooters, your eye is not going to be perfectly centered in the scope.
Oh,
you're going to have to raise your head or try to lower your head, or you're going to immediately...
Or you do the cheats like opening your jaw just a little bit to raise your eye.
Exactly right.
Right? I mean,
or you're going to pulling your head back. You're going to crane your neck a little bit and pull your head an inch back, because not only do you need to be centered in the scope, you need a crisp, clear image. You don't need any of that scope shadow, that fuzzy black ring on the outside of your view. And if you find yourself now pulling your head back an inch and lifting it a half of an inch, well, that rifle's not set up for you. And that seems like not a big deal because you may be shooting like that your whole life. But when it comes to actually getting the performance you want out of a rifle, it needs to be set up right. And if you're staring at something for even 10 minutes, your head and neck are going to start shaking. Your shoulders are going to start getting fatigued. You need that rifle set up to you. And now is the time to do it, because you have enough time. If you need to buy another set of rings at a different height, or you need to move your scope, you have the time to do it now. And get it set up where it actually fits you, and then you can get out to the range and zero your rifle.
Let me throw another thing that happens. If your gun doesn't fit you, and of course I didn't know I was doing that, I guess I've been doing that forever, is using the lowest scope mounts I could, making sure, using moleskin if I have to on the stock, the old-fashioned stuff you used to do, and and the same deal, close your eyes. But one of the things two things it'll do for you. Yes, if you got to stay on that gun for a while, you're going to get fatigued, but if you need to go the other way, and you have a shot you got to make like right now, and you got a snap shoot, and you're using it like a shotgun, if you throw it up to your shoulder, and now you have to wave your head around somewhere in the air to try to get your eye aligned with it, you're not going to be able to make that shot. You need to be able to throw that gun up, put it on your shoulder, cheek it hard, and look through the scope, and just there it is. You can see what you're trying to see.
That's a great point, Tom. It's not only for long shots, it also makes it much quicker and easier for the short ones. And if you're a little recoil sensitive, I don't care how tough you are. I shoot big guns, and sometimes the recoil still gets to me. If the gun doesn't fit me, that's when it starts popping your jaw pretty hard. I don't know if anyone's ever done that. They say, something about that gun just kicks me in the cheek, and it doesn't do it to your buddy.
Yes.
It's because it doesn't fit you. You need to get that thing set up to fit you. Then go out and zero it. And then once you're zeroed, get off the shooting bench. There's absolutely no reason to stay on the shooting bench after your rifle's zeroed. None at all. I mean, unless you hunt where there's shooting benches and you're going to encounter a shooting bench in the field, then get off the bench and start doing realistic shots.
I'm thinking the more you shoot off the bench, the more you're teaching your rifle how to shoot.
Or you only have so many good shots in your life. Don't waste them now. You have a quota of good shots in your life. Do not waste them. Save them up.
Don't be throwing it anyway. Tell you what, hold on a second. We're going to talk about this on the backside. We're talking with Ryan Cleckner. We got a lot to talk about with gun setup, rifles, cartridges. What cartridge is good for hunting? We'll talk about that. And are there some new ones that you ought to be taking a look at? If you have a question, by all means, give us a shout, 866-TALK-GUN. We'll be right back with more Gun Talk. Hey, welcome back. We're talking guns, rifles, scopes, everything else with Ryan Cleckner. Ryan, what is GunUniversity.com?
GunUniversity.com is the hub that I made to try and tie all my projects together. I do too many things, and someone finally convinced me that make one spot for someone to go to, and we started doing gun reviews, product reviews, instructionals. And we have one rule. Well, we have two rules that are really important to us at Gun University. One is we don't take advertisers. Not that there's nothing wrong with advertisers, but by doing reviews, we don't ever want someone to doubt what our review is coming from. And we require that our writers have a C+ average. So we actually give grades to guns, and not every gun can be the best gun. Some aren't so great, and we make sure and tell the truth about them.
There you go. Okay. All right. So we're talking about setting up your rifle and all that. You're talking about the gun fit and getting everything lined up. And one of the things that I see, and one of the manifestations of not having your gun fit you, is people they're trying to find a deer in the scope, and they can't see through the scope. It's that It's not even a case of, gee, I'm going to be on the gun for so long. I literally, and they'll say, I just can't find him. I can't see him. And they can't see through the scope.
Yeah, this is especially true with new shooters that aren't used to doing it. Tom, you and I probably have a knack for just seeing through a scope whenever we want to, because we're used to doing that, fishing our head around to find it if the rifle didn't fit us. But yeah, having it fit, you're exactly right. Jumping up on the gun and finding it right away is super important. I also think that adjusting for the reticle, this is another thing that most shooters that I teach don't have set up properly to their eye, is most people don't know, that I've encountered, most people don't know to focus the scope so that their eye is focused on the reticle. Usually the entire ocular housing, the part of the scope that's right next to your eyeball when you're looking through it, either the very end of the scope or the entire piece, rotates and it changes and allows it to be set up so your eye sees the reticle clearly.
You're not focusing the image that you're looking at way out there. You want the sharpness to be on the crosshair, the reticle, make it sharp, and then work from there.
Exactly right. So we have to have a baseline for you and the rifle. And I have students on day one of a course. Not only do we move the scopes like we did in this course last week and get them set up to where their head and body are positioned the right way, the very next thing we do is we have them either stare at a white wall right in front of their barrel if we're inside, or we have a partner or a friend hold up a white sheet of paper on the barrel. The scope is only looking a couple feet in front of them, and we use a white sheet of paper because I don't want you to get distracted by anything in the distance to look at.
Okay.
All we're trying to do is focus that reticle. And once you get that reticle crisp and clear to your eye, now that rifle scope is in the right position, and it's at the right focus for you. From there on out, if you have a scope that has a side focus knob, now you can turn that side focus knob to bring the target in line with that reticle. You're going to have a lot more success. It's going to solve that problem that we've all had, especially when it's getting darker and you're focusing on the reticle or the animal, and back and forth. That's a recipe for disaster, because when I'm hunting and I see an animal I'm excited about shooting, it's real easy to forget about that reticle when you're staring at that big, pretty animal.
Okay.
And when you're staring past that reticle, you have no idea how much it shifts or drifts out of the way, and you miss that big buck because you were so fixated on this high magnification, super clear scope, looking at the pretty animal and forgot about the thing that mattered, which was your aiming point.
All right, let me ask you a loaded question here, because I know you have done an awful lot of training. Your professional experience is shooting at long ranges. I am not a fan of long-range shooting at critters. By long range, for me, it's probably 400, 500 max yards, just because of the variables and everything else out there. And I know that a lot of people, YouTube guys, are out there shooting at or sometimes hitting animals at 1,000 yards. I know you are capable of doing that. What's your take on that?
You're right. That's a tough one. My take is I like to hunt when I'm hunting, and I like to target shoot when I'm target shooting, and I don't mix the two. But the reason it's a tough question for me is I really hesitate telling somebody else how they should be doing what they want to do.
Okay.
So
fair
I
enough.
like to say that if my biggest risk is spooking the animal, that I'm hunting. And if my biggest risk is missing the target, that I'm target shooting. That's my standard. So
I like that.
So if I can do a couple jumping jacks before I shoot in a white T-shirt and talk out loud to my buddy about which animal we're going to shoot and then shoot it, to me that's not hunting anymore, because the skill is in hitting the target. And if you just replace that elk at 1,000 yards to a piece of steel, everything I'm doing is exactly the same as target shooting. So that's what I do for me. If you can ethically harvest an animal or kill an animal at that distance, then I'm not going to judge what you're doing is right or wrong. I'm just going to say, for me, I've shot animals at a couple hundred yards that I felt bad shooting that far.
Interesting. All right, another question for you. You kind of watch what's going on with technology right now. The rifles are so much better than we've ever had in the past. The ammo is so much better than we've had in the past. And optics are getting better, I think, it seems like, by the month. So where are we in terms of this progression, and what does that mean for the hunter?
Well, it means much more reliable, accurate setups. It means that we can tailor our equipment to the specific hunt and no longer have to have the one Remington 700 30-06 shooting 180 grain core lock bullets at everything. We can now tailor what we want to do, but it also means that people spend so much time on the internet and talking to everyone else, and they get wrapped around the axle and let the equipment and gear get away from them. You know, and an old man with a red flannel shirt and blue jeans with that same Remington 700 is probably going to be better at killing elk than the brand new guy with all the fanciest, you know, Gucci gear out there that doesn't really know how to hunt or know what he's doing. So I encourage people to don't chase the equipment, especially when you're new, because you don't know what you want yet.
Sure.
Just because it's the quote-unquote best scope that I like doesn't mean you're going to like it at all. You know, it's kind of like someone comes to me and always asks me, what bullet should I shoot? What scope should I get? What rifle should I get? And I tend to answer with, I don't know. What car should I get?
Yeah.
And if I want to haul lumber, I need a pickup truck. But if I want a super sports car, I want a Lamborghini. And both are horrible at each other's jobs. So you need to know a lot more about what I like and my preferences and my needs and things like that. I think a decent rifle is what has really helped us in the industry now. You can get under $1,000,
right,
an amazingly accurate, reliable rifle. I think that's what it's done. I don't think the top end of the market is what's so great. I think the bottom end is what's so great. How inexpensive you can get a reliable rifle.
I would agree. Somewhere between $500 and $1,000, you get rifles that routinely shoot under a minute of angle, sometimes half minute of angle, and scopes scopes that are repeatable, you know, that are actually very good at a pretty affordable price. One of the things that I see people doing is going with heavy rifles, great big scopes, because they can shoot little bitty groups at long range with them, and now they're going to lug that thing through the hills or the mountains.
Yeah. We were talking to a guy that took an MRAD hunting one time because we were testing the 300 PRC, and that's the only rifle I could get chambered in 300 PRC. And
oh, good grief!
Yeah, that was tough. You're right. It's not about getting those pretty low groups when you're hunting. It's about hunting, and I love lightweight rifles, and I don't get tired of it. In a way, I enjoy it. People saying, "Oh, you need a lightweight rifle. Just work out a little bit more. Be tougher." No matter how tough you are, if I took a pound off your rifle, you can shoot quicker and go further with it.
Yes.
So be as tough as you want. Matter of fact, be even tougher than you are now. You're still going to be able to go further and shoot better with a lighter rifle. So
at every level
get a lightweight
of toughness,
rifle. Don't break the bank doing it, but get one.
Exactly. And you can get a lightweight rifle again for under $1,000 these days. How about cartridges? Anything going on there that you go, wow, that's really cool that we have now? Or I mean,
I'm going to say something really unpopular.
Sure.
I think that we as a hunting industry lay too much at the retained bullet weight altar. I don't believe in the retained bullet weight theory.
Okay.
I like my bullet to go in the middle of a kill zone and just explode. I see, for me, in my experience, more dead animals, less follow-up shots, more successful hunts that way. Now, if I'm shooting an elk, I keep saying elk because to me there's elk hunting, and there's things I hunt when I don't get to go elk hunting.
Yes. I understand. And the thing is, you may end up, particularly if you're not a guide, you don't live out there all the time, and you got this hunt, and it's the last day of the hunt, and you got that 6x6 or 7x7 that's walking away from you, you're probably going to take the shot.
For sure. And so if you're going to go 300 yards away to a monster bull quartering away from you, well, you're going to need a bullet that's going to carry through 5 feet of meat. And maybe one of those bullets that breaks apart really easy is no longer a good idea. I'm not saying it's perfect for everything, but if the shot is placed where it needs to be placed, I've been using some fairly old-fashioned soft point designs. I took every plains game I took in Africa, one-shot drops. I've taken my last 2 or 3 elk with them. I've seen countless shooters doing great with them now. So, I hear everyone talk about compared how much the bullet weighed, and when I'm sitting there field dressing the elk, and you see exploded vitals, I mean, broken apart into pieces vitals, and little flecks of bullet, I've heard more than one person say, "Oh, look, that bullet failed."
As Steve Hardy likes to say, at what point during the animal's demise did the bullet fail? Ryan Cleckner, don't go anywhere. We're going to come right back. I'm going to hold you on all the way through. All right, still talking with Ryan Cleckner about, getting our hunting guns ready. Ryan, Michelle just pointed out something. She was talking about going with lighter weight. She says, every bit of weight matters if the hunt is successful. Says, you now have an animal to pack out also. Thought, well, yeah, there's that.
Absolutely right.
There's that. You were talking about the bullets, and of course the cup and core bullets have worked forever, and they, I've killed a bunch of stuff with them, so I understand that. Question for you. I kind of go counter to some of the thinking these days about all the cool, best modern cartridges because, honestly, I think if you're shooting inside of 400, even 500 yards, I don't think it much matters. Get a 270, an .6, a 257 Roberts. I mean, they all kill stuff. 338 Win Mag, of course, is fabulous for elk. It's been one of my favorites forever. I mean, you can get some of the newest, latest, greatest, but I'm not sure there's that much advantage.
Oh, to the newer, fancier bullets? No.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think that we hurt ourselves a little bit. This is where I'll get real unpopular. I think in the 60s and 70s, we had some of these really fast cartridges coming out, some of the Weatherbys and these Super Magnums coming out, that the bullets weren't holding together.
Right.
So they had to make stronger and stronger bullets just so the cartridges looked successful, just so those cartridges could be used. And I think that's when we started getting into this, who could make the strongest, holds together the best bullet. And I think people got caught up in that. And this is purely my opinion, but I think when I said laying at the retained to bullet weight altar, is I know some shooters that's all they care about, and I can't get a straight answer out of anyone why that's important. If I have a dead animal in front of me, that's what I want. And in my experience, seeing a lot of people shooting, and me too, when the bullets break apart, the animal dies faster for me.
Now, what about cartridges? We've got all these new cartridges out, and I still maintain that the older ones still work just as well. And again, not looking at the faster twist rates and the high BC when you get out past 500 yards, but inside of that, I'm saying there's not much difference.
Oh, that 30-06 core locked example or a 270 core locked example I gave has probably killed more elk than anything else in America. Deer too. To get extra unpopular now, Tom, the last 6 elk I've seen killed, whether I did it or I was with someone guiding, was with a 6.5 Creedmoor. So not that I consider that an elk cartridge, not that I would even recommend that for elk, but it has worked excellent for me and plenty of other people. We're putting the bullet exactly where it needs to be with waiting for the right angle, the right shot, and we're getting one-shot drops, and it works just great in a little tiny lightweight rifle. The rifle I've been shooting with an optic altogether is just under 7 pounds total. So little tiny cartridge, you wait for the right shot, it works. Now, sometimes a bigger cartridge is needed.
Yeah, but look at the history with the 7x57. They've been killing big critters all over the world for almost 100 years or more now.
Oh, or Karamojo Bell, who killed thousands of elephant?
Yeah.
With essentially a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yep.
It was an older cartridge, obviously, but it was about the same thing. So yeah, you don't chase anything. Get a rifle that's good enough, get a scope that's good enough, and get ammo that's good enough, and spend all the rest of your money and time practicing. Going and buying the best of everything and not being able to stand up, maybe I'll let you lean against the pole at the shooting range.
Okay.
You'll lean against the pole like it's the tree, and if you can hit a paper plate at 200 yards, you're going to be a great hunter. Most people would laugh at that when they hear me talk about that, but it's harder than you think. And if you think you're good at it, give me 10 jumping jacks, then pick up your rifle and shoot at that paper plate 3 times. And if you can hit that paper plate 3 times, that's a successful hunt. That's a kill zone.
Yes.
But these guys that get these pretty groups and they are measuring fractions of an inch for the minute of angle will completely miss that giant paper plate at 200 yards when they're in an awkward position. And it's not the right bench, and they don't have the sandbags in the back, and their heart is pumping a little bit. That's what I think really matters. And I would take a $500 rifle, a $500 scope, and the cheapest box of soft point ammo I could find in a store any day in a competent shooter's hands over the opposite.
There it is. Ryan Cleckner, I mean, you nailed it. And the only reason I know that you're smart is because I agree with you on almost everything you say. So there you go.
Okay.
No, it's that experience, man. It's all about putting the bullet on the target. And if you don't do that, nothing else matters. Again, tell people where they can keep up with what you're about.
Oh, they can. Gun University is the best place to go check it out. If they want to learn more about shooting like this, they can check out my book, The Long Range Shooting Handbook. It's been out for about 5 years now, and it's been going great, and it teaches you all these basic fundamentals. Doing something like that and getting ready now for the hunting season, you're going to be much, much happier than just spending money and not preparing.
There you go. Thank you so much, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.